Hey everyone, it's Debbie from the Fancy Stamper. How you guys doing? Yay, I'm glad to be here tonight. I am going to be showing you how to make these three really pretty cards from the class I had, the online card class, Sheltering Tree. It's a really pretty stamp set, and what I do when I have these classes, now I haven't done it for a little while because I actually haven't done a video for a little while. I've had strep throat for a bit, and of course I couldn't talk well. So finally my voice came back, much to everybody's chagrin in my family. So I can talk again, yay! But in the meantime, I didn't have any classes for about maybe a whole month. So this is my first one back, and as you can see, this is one of the cards we'll be doing. Where my card classes, I actually do a total of 6 cards. There's 3, there's 2 of each design. So I just make the designs up by myself. And then what you guys do is, when I have the card class, basically what you do is you buy the stamp set and any ink pads that come along with it, and then I give you the paper products for free, and then when you get it, you stamp them up yourself and you put the cards together. Works out really well because not only do you have the fun of actually making the project yourself, which is cool, but you can also do it again later. You can substitute your own paper. I've had people even change the paper colors or change the embellishments or change one thing or another, and it works out really fun. So it's a good thing to do, and especially if you're so busy that you can't, you don't have a lot of time to do creative process things. Kind of makes it a little bit easier. So let me get started and show you what came in your little packet. When you got my packet, and I've already sent them out, so you got it by now, you didn't get any of these cards. So these cards were not there. And the envelopes were there, but they were blank. So this is just an envelope I decorated. What you got was this plastic paper that had a plastic bag that had all these papers in it. You got this little Ziploc baggie that had the embellishments in it. If you weren't a member of my team and you bought the whole packet, you got this Sheltering Tree stamp set. And then you got these 3 different ink pads. Yours were brand new, so that's what you got in your packet. So what I'm going to show you is pretty much from A to Z on what we start out doing. And this is the first card we're going to make. This one here, and isn't it pretty? So on this card, it just has a couple of basic layers and some stamping, some embellishments. And then what I did is I put the sentiment on the inside. For you guys, you can actually put it anywhere you want, but I thought it looked better for me on the inside because the outside had a lot going on. So that's how I chose to do it. As I said, you can do it any way you want. But let's just open this packet. I'm going to take you through this packet and show you what's in it. Let's see, this is a sticky packet, so you can reseal it. I'm going to slide everything out. And I learned from my stamping manager that it's good to have a piece of paper with all the list of ingredients, so to speak. So everybody got one of these. Tells you a little bit about the class, and it tells you what came inside the class packet so that you'll know what to expect. And it also has my phone number in case you need to tell me anything or what have you. And that's what that is, so you can keep it. It also has all the sizes of everything. So you'll know which ones go with which. Here's your 6 envelopes. So you'll have 6 envelopes. You got 2 of these. This is actually Blushing Bride cardstock. And you actually got these 2 little strips so that you can put the sentiment on for one of those cards. And I think I put them in order, but I'm not sure. Let me look. I'll see in a minute. Okay, so this one, no, it's not in order. How could it not be in order? That's terrible, but you'll figure it out, look. Okay, so this one with the Old Olive cardstock for the card base, that's this here, because you see that it has, it's designed to, and it has the wood textures for the designer paper for one of the layers. So that's the second design. This is the first design, so I guess I had it in there backwards. This is the Blushing Bride cardstock, that's the first layer. And then the second layer is the Old Olive, and then the stamping layer is the Whisper White. And then they each come with their embellishments. So what I'm going to do is I said we were going to start with this card with this layer, so I'm going to go ahead and put these other ones away for now, and we're going to get started with this card first. I think I do need that, so I'm going to leave that there. All right, so as we usually do, I'm going to move these to the side, get them out of our way so we don't have to be looking at them. What we always do is we start always starting with an 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of cardstock for our card layer base, and that's your standard A2 size. So what I usually do is I use my bone folder, and I just go ahead and fold it. I just line up the two corners as best I can and use the bone folder to get a nice tight crease. It looks nice like that. So I have that like that. And then the second layer is going to be the old olive cardstock. And again, the measurements are all listed for you, so you don't really have to worry because I already cut out all the paper parts of it. So the next one is going to be this layer, and this layer is going to go here. So I'm not actually going to put this layer on yet. I'm just showing you that so that we can get right to the stamping. We're going to go ahead and get started with the stamping, so that's always the fun part. So let me go ahead and grab one of these bases, and we will put these two to the side. And what you're going to do is you're going to be using first the chocolate chip, and the first thing that we're going to stamp is going to be the branchy part of the tree. I almost said the skeleton. It's not really a skeleton, it's the branchy part of the tree. So this is the part we're gonna stamp first. Now your stamp set is gonna be pristine, but mine, as you see, has been used quite a few times. So mine is maybe stained in some stuff, even though I've been cleaning it. They stain after a while. So that's why mine looks like this and yours won't. All right, so what I do is I just try to find the best size block I can. And since this is a pretty good sized stamp, I like to get one that's gonna make sure I hit all of it. So I just go ahead and get that on there so it's nice and secure on my acrylic block. Then I open up the stamp pad, and if you've had trouble with these in the past or you weren't sure how to do it, you just go here where the 3 dots are and you give it a little push, and then it'll pop it up, and then you just slide it, snap it into place. So it's not hard to do at all. Then when you get ready to close it, you just put your 2 fingers in here and you give it a little tug and you just close it, snap it into place again. So it's really pretty easy. Alrighty, so now, again, remember, I'm gonna be instructing like I'm talking to people who have never stamped before. So if you're a seasoned stamper, you don't have to listen to this part of it, but it's just hopefully to help some of the newer stampers understand how to do things. With the bigger stamps, what I like to do is I like to give it a little twist and then a tap because I tend to get better coverage. So I'll twist it and tap it, and then see how it works. Now, I normally have a piece of blank paper laying around somewhere so that I can just give it a test, and I am going to get that right now so I can have it. And make sure that it stamps on there. I don't know what happened to my grid paper, but that's okay. So you twist it, tap it, and then I'm just gonna go for a piece of leftover cardstock or some kind of paper and give it a little stamp and see. Aha, see how that is kind of bare in the middle? It's a good thing I did that. So what I'm gonna do is go back and re-ink it. And I'm gonna take a look. Yeah, I see where that is. I kind of missed a spot. Okay. Now I'm going to try it again right here and see how that goes this time. Much better. All right, so let me go ahead and give it a nice little inking again. Get it nice and inked up. And then I'm going to ink it about an inch up and pretty much in the middle here, okay? So I'm just gonna push it down. Now, one more thing I'll tell you that I see people doing all the time on these photopolymer stamps. A lot of times what they do is, I've seen them do this, they'll pick up the whole thing and while it's still connected, they'll rub it to make sure that it gets full coverage. I didn't on this one, and I'm kind of looking at this and I'm trying to decide if I think that that's enough ink. I'm not really sure if I like that I might want it to be a little bit inkier. So I am going to re-ink this up. And I normally don't do this, I just flip the paper over, but I'm gonna see how close I can get it. Just worst case scenario, I'll just turn it over again. So let's see. Okay. You know what? It's not that bad for what I'm doing, so I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm going to move on to this piece down here. So this is going to be my little background ground layer, and that is something that we're going to use the old olive. So again, I'm going to go ahead and open it, snap it into place. I'm going to grab that stamp out of here. Right here. So what I'm doing is I'm letting that dry a little bit before I kind of put the leaves over top of it. So I just go ahead and put this here, and I'm going to ink this up with my old olive. Same thing, I twisted it, and I'm going to use it here again to see how it comes out. Oh, that's nice. Okay, I like that. So I'm going to do that here. And I'm going to put it right about here. It's kind of like the tree is almost at the top of that little hill. Okay. Now I think it's a good time to put the leaves on there. For the leaves, we're going to use the Melon Mambo. And what I do on this technique is something called stamp off. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that, but what stamping off refers to is you will take the ink when it's fully inked up, and instead of stamping it in full strength on your card, what you do is you stamp it off on a piece of paper first. What that does is it gets the bulk of your ink off. So that's why they call it stamp off. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up. First get it on my acrylic block. Then I'm going to go ahead and open up my Melon Mambo and get it all inked up. I just touched the ink. I tend to do that a lot. That's okay, I have baby wipes for my hands. Okay. Now that it's been all inked up, what I'm going to do is stamp it off here, and I'm just going to stamp it lightly. I don't want to get all the ink off. Well, I didn't stamp it enough there. Okay, I stamped most of it off. Now I'm going to take it over here, and what I do, everybody does something a little bit different. What I do is I breathe on it, and then I sort of center it over the tree. Okay. And then I push it down as hard as I can to get as good of an impression as I can. Let's see if I can turn this over. Okay, so this is what I was talking about before. People just rub the back of it to get as much ink off as they can. All right. Okay, so that's how that came out. So that looks pretty good. So now that we have that done, what I'm gonna do is I wanted a little bit of contrast. And actually this came out with a little bit of contrast, not on purpose, it was an accident. But you're not gonna make that same accidental thing. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get this small little, kind of looks like 3 little dots, but it's supposed to be some blooms. And it's stained, it's already been cleaned, but it's stained now because anytime you put it in the pink color or the red colors or the darker colors, it will stain. So in this case, what I'm gonna do is ink it up. Same color, I'm using Melon Mambo again, so get it all inky. See how it looks? And then with the full strength ink, I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple on here in full strength. Because you see how it's lighter around the edges? I'm just gonna give it a couple of little full strength dabs of the Melon Mambo and give it a little bit of contrast. Okay, now because I had, accidentally gotten it darker initially, I don't have to put as many. But as you see in my original one, I inked it off pretty good. I only got a very light little color on there, so that's why I did more of them on this one. But no two are gonna look exactly alike, and yours is gonna look just as good however you do it. So just make sure that you follow these techniques and yours are gonna come out great. But remember, no two are gonna look alike. All right, now we are to the part where we are going to put the little bicycle on there. Isn't that bicycle cute? I love that bicycle. So the bicycle comes in two parts. Okay, it comes in this part here, and then it has a little piece here that actually goes in the middle of the bicycle. I don't know if you can see here, but you actually stamp the bigger part of the bicycle here, like you see this, and then you stamp the other part, which is this framework in the middle. So let's get both of those stamps out. And alrighty. Now on this one, I went ahead and used your basic black. Use your basic archival black ink. So we're gonna get that all inked up on the stamp. And then I did a little stamp to test it. It looks really good. Ink it up again, and I'm gonna put it right here. And again, you'll notice with these acrylic blocks, you can see right through, so you can put it exactly where you want to put it. So that's perfect. Okay, so there's my little bicycle. And I'm also going to use that other piece on the bicycle. And I'm going to do a little practice on it so I can make sure I know where it's going on here. So I'll practice on here. Ah, I see. You see how those little frames go down to the spokes? That's what you're trying to connect. Now I understand. Okay, so that looks good, and I'm going to do the same thing on here. Okay, now my bicycle's all connected, so that looks really good too. All right, so while this is drying for a minute, I'm going to put this to the side, and I want to show you something. Because I don't know if you guys have this already, but if you don't, you should think about getting it. It's called the Stampin' Scrub, and what it is a way to clean all of your stamps. You buy the Stampin' Mist to go with it, and what you do is you spray one side, the other side stays dry, and you just use it on your stamps to clean them in between uses. So what you do is you just rub it here, then you dry it off, and it's clean. And you see this one is stained, so it's not gonna get completely clean. But yeah, it's gonna get fairly clean. So if you try to stamp it again, you don't get anything. So that's how you can tell it's really clean. So, okay, let me clean this one. And it's awfully quick, it's very quick. And then you can make sure you don't ruin your stamps. So that one's clean too. And lastly, this big tree. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Okay, so that's all there is to it. But this is a really great thing to get. A lot of you already have this, but if you don't, just go ahead and grab this, and then you get the Stampin' Mist with it. You buy that separately. They're two separate things. The reason I have this on mine is because I always forgot which side was the wet side, so I had to mark it for myself. It helped a lot. So that's what I do. I make sure I get everything clean in the meantime so we don't have any problems with the stamps later. Because even though they stain, I do want them to stay, nice looking for a long, long time. All right, so I had my base. What did we do with my base? I found it. It was right next to me. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. All right, so what I'm going to do here is go ahead and attach this to this layer. All right, and you can see I just left a little bit of room around there so that we can make sure we get a nice little border there. So I am going to use the snail adhesive and just put a little bit on all 4 sides. It holds really well. And just try to give yourself an even border all the way around. What I usually try to do is make sure this side and this side is fairly even, and then somehow, I think geometry is involved, somehow the rest looks okay too. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it on here too, using the snail adhesive. Okay, same idea. You just make sure that you have a little bit of a border all the way around. And you know, I think on my original I used the dimensionals here. So I popped up this layer a little bit. We'll do it on the next one so it'll look good. But you know, there's a little bit missing here. There's a little bit of bling that we're gonna put on this one. So I will show you. I'll open up this little packet that has all the bling, and it has I gave you some dimensionals too. And I gave you some sponge because you're going to use it, and I gave you some of this cute ribbon. All right, so I have about 6 or 7 of these little basic rhinestones. And what I did was I just kind of scattered them throughout the leaves a little bit, so you'll have a little bit of bling. I always think that can't possibly have too much bling on these cards because it just looks nice. So I'm gonna scatter a few around, and then we'll go from there. Now each one of these little cards is supposed to be for 2 of your cards. So this one is supposed to be for both of your cards that look like this, and the other one is supposed to be for your other card that's gonna have bling in it. So just remember not to use all the bling on one card and you'll be okay. So each one of these is for 2. So let's see, I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll put another one on here right in the middle. Okay. All right, so this card is done. Now the only thing I didn't do is I didn't put the embellishment, the sentiment on the inside, and I'm gonna let you decide if you wanna put that sentiment in there. I put this sentiment in my card, but a lot of people think this is a little too large for in there, so I'm gonna let you decide what you wanna do. You have the material if you wanna do it, so if you do want to, then that's fine. All right, so I'm gonna put that to the side along with its bling. And I'm going to put this little thing back on my pointy thingy so I don't hurt myself, because I will. And let's see, let's move on to the next card. That's going to be this one, Thinking of You. I love this card. This is so pretty. So for this one, we have the base card is, the base layer is going to be this old olive, and then it has some of this wood texture, which is awesome. And it also has a piece of the stamping Whisper White. So let's start once again by just going ahead and folding our base layer. So same idea, we're just gonna fold it till both corners meet. Give it a gentle fold and then use your bone folder to give it a nice crease. All right, and then that's done there, so we set that there. And then we have our stamping layer. I'm gonna set that there for now. So our stamping layer is here. And what we're gonna do here is start about this far over. We're just a little left of center on this one. And let me go back and get that same card I had. Sorry, the same stamp. And we're going to use the chocolate chip again. Here's the chocolate chip. You know what, this time, instead of stamping it this way, I'm gonna try to stamp it this way, because, I mean, honestly, sometimes this works better. And I remember I didn't like the way the last one inked up. Remember, I didn't think it inked up too good. So let me try this way and we will experiment together, okay? because I want you guys to have a nice, successful, oh, I already see it. It looks a lot juicier on this one. Yeah, let's try this way. Okay, it looks really juicy. All right, we're going to give it a try and see what happens. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to go over a little bit, not in the center, but a little bit over from the center. So right about here, I'm going to press it down nice and evenly. And you know what? I'm going to kind of slide it off the edge on this one and try to get this one pressed everywhere the way I was describing it last time to you. All right, let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. I like that better. Okay, so I'm going to move that to the side, and that is my chocolate chip. And next I'm going to be using the old olive. Now this is where we're going to put the leaves on with the old olive, and we're going to do the same technique. Remember I was talking to you about the stamp off technique? We're going to do the same thing because we wanted to have some variation. We wanted to have some highs and some lows. So because it worked out good inking up the pad that way, I'm going to go ahead and ink up this one the same way by turning this over. And again, this is a technique that you might want to use when you have a bigger stamp. It's for bigger stamps, and it's also for photopolymer, because sometimes the photopolymer, for whatever reason, it doesn't ink up the same as other things. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it doesn't have as much padding. I really don't know why, but normally I never have any trouble with it, just when I'm making a video. But that's okay. It's still going to come out just fine, so you'll see. So I'm going to get this all inked up best I can. All right, that looks pretty juicy. And I am going to give it a very quick little stamp off on here. Okay. Blow on it. Okay, I know that sounds so weird, doesn't it? And then I'm gonna line it up and then give it a nice little press. And again, remember, it's going to be a little bit uneven because that's how they are supposed to look. So you see it looks uneven. It's supposed to look uneven. It's okay to look like that. And it doesn't matter anyway, because guess why? We have this little, remember this little one that's going to be putting in the extra dark areas? We're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to borrow this little block and attach it here. Get it inked up, and go ahead and I'm going to do one more thing here. You see this area is really light in this area? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a stamp off technique and then stamp it with the lighter color here, because I want some more of the light colored leaves here. So I'm just going to do the stamp off technique. So here's the stamp off technique. I ink it up, I stamp it off here, and then I stamp it here with a lighter leaf. Okay, I'll do it again. Stamp off the darker one, stamp on the lighter one. See how that is? It looks nice, huh? So you can have some kind of contrast, which I think looks great. Now, I do want to add in some darker ones here, so I'm going to go ahead and fully ink it, and then just give it a little stamp. Not too many, but just enough so that there's some contrast. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. Now, in our last card, you're going to see me using other colors, but just remember on these things, I could bring in a bright red right here as well if I wanted to, and make it look like it had apples. So you can do anything you want. Matter of fact, that's what's great about this set. It's just so versatile. You can do whatever you want, and it just comes out gorgeous. You're going to love it. All right, so I am going to wait one more second. I do want to use this ink for one more thing. The sentiment here is thinking of you. So I'm going to grab that one. Thinking of you. I like that sentiment. That sounds nice. Hi, I'm thinking of you. Are you thinking of me? I know you are. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stick this on here. And this is also in the old olive. So get that all inked up. Thinking of you. And I'm going to go right down here in the right hand section. Just give it a stamp. Try not to roll it. All right. Okay, so that's what we have here. And the last thing I'm going to do on this actual set, this actual card, is I'm going to put that little swing set. The swing set is so cute. I love it. And I'm going to use the black one for that as well. So let's grab that little one. You're really using a whole lot of the little stamps in this set, so that's a good thing. Sometimes I don't like it when I get, you know, when I join a card class and I only use 1 or 2 of the stamps that came in the set. I want to use them all because I'm like, you know, I got all these stamps, I want to use them. But sometimes there's just no call for it. So this is a good one. You do get to use a lot of them, which is great. Alrighty, so here we go. I'm gonna ink it up with the basic black, and I'm gonna swing it right off of this lower branch, and I'm gonna have it kind of out at an angle, like a swing that's swinging. All right, and that's my swing. So let me put this ink pad away. Just go ahead and pull that out, snap it in place, and we are ready to assemble. So what I'm gonna do first is, since this is the one I'm going to use the dimensionals on, I'm going to set that to the side and first get this adhered to the main layer. So again, I'm going to use my snail adhesive. And I love this cardstock. The cardstock, the old olive, it pairs so well with this wood texture. This is one of the new designer papers, and it looks just so great, doesn't it? So it gives it a nice rustic look. So I'm going to go ahead and get this adhered on the first layer. Just do my best to line it up. And then I'm going to take our little stamping beauty here. And that's when I'm going to pull out my dimensionals. Flip it over. Now you guys already know my policy on dimensionals. And I gave you these dimensionals. So you're going to have plenty of dimensionals, so don't be shy with them. Go ahead and use them up. What I generally do is I go for all 4 corners, and then sometimes if it's a bigger layer, like this is a pretty good size layer, I'll put them along the sides and then I'll put a couple in the middle. Because I don't like it when they look wimpy and they kind of droop in certain areas. I like them to have a nice solid surface, so that's why I use a lot of dimensionals. And as I've already told you guys numerous times, the dimensionals are so inexpensive. So you get about 300 dimensionals, so 300 of these little dots. You get that for $4, and it's such a good deal that you can definitely afford to use them up and make your project look really cute. All right, so I got them all torn off there, and I'm gonna go ahead and center this on here. Okay, and last you can see that maybe it needs one more little thing on here, and I'm gonna use some of this really pretty ribbon. So I went ahead and pre-cut it for you at around 18 inches. And what I did was I just did this very simple technique where you slide it up here, and I'm going to tie it in a simple bow right about here so that it ends up with the bow here. And I just tie a regular little simple knot. It's not a square knot or anything. It's just a regular, tie it once and then tie it twice and then you're done. So we'll get that part done first. I just always hold the center of it so it doesn't go anywhere. Of course, if you have another person there helping you, that's even better. So I just tie that like that, and then what I do is I just make a very small loop and make a tiny little bow. Doesn't have to look perfect, but it just has to be like that so that you have two little loops. And then I just use the ends to pull them a little till I'm happy with what it looks like. And you know, usually it doesn't take much. I'm usually pretty happy right away. So there you go. That's all I'm going to do to that. And you can trim off the edges if you want, but what I like to do even more than that is I like to take a glue dot and I like to adhere part of that bow down so that it doesn't go anywhere. So I just take one of these little glue dots and I just find somewhere on here to sort of adhere it down so it doesn't move, because I don't want it to untie when it's going in and out of the envelope or anything like that. So that's my reason for doing it. And you don't have to do it. So that's what this card looks like, and you can see that this is our second card. Isn't that really cute? I know, I love that too. It looks so good. All right, and last but not least, we have the pièce de résistance. I can't say it. Can you guys say it for me and then phone it in so I can use it next time? I'm gonna have to learn that one because I think that means the finale, the grand finale. Alrighty, so that one is sort of funny because for that last card, what we use is Blushing Bride. We have Blushing Bride for the base. We have Blushing Bride for the second layer. And then we have white for the stamping layer. But you wouldn't really know that this second layer is Blushing Bride because look, it doesn't look like Blushing Bride. See, it looks so dark, right? But it isn't. Well, it is. So I'm going to show you how we did that. So again, we're going to start with this. We're going to go ahead and fold our card base over. Line up the two corners. Make a little basic crease and then use the bone folder to make a tight crease. So that looks nice. All right, and then we're going to do our stamping. So for this stamping, it starts on its side. And once again, we're going to use the chocolate chip. Because the chocolate chip looks more like a wooden tree, doesn't it? I think so. And it worked out really good, me doing it this way last time. So I'm going to try that again. Go ahead and stamp it like this and get it all inked up. Nice and inky. Inky, inky, inky. Okay, oh yeah, that looks inky. Okay, now on this one, I'm gonna have this over here, kind of to the right, like almost the center, but just a little bit right of center. So I'm gonna go ahead and place it right about there, and make sure all these little branches get some force on them so they show up. Yay, I love it. Okay, get that out of here. And I'm going to close this because we're not going to use this one again. Right here at least. And next we're going to be doing the leaves. Now for this one, this is the technique I was telling you about where we do the leaves in a light green and then we're going to come back over and give it some pink fruit. Now, I don't know. I guess it could be like a gala apple, because aren't the gala apples kind of pink? I thought they were. Or maybe they start out yellow, and then when they turn ripe, they kind of go pink and yellow. I don't know. But, oops, I'm going to turn this over. But anyway, we're going to go with that. So we're going to go ahead and ink this up. And I don't have to worry too much because I'm going to come back in on this tree, and besides the green, it's going to have pink, so I don't have to worry a whole lot about it having a lot of color in it. Because that's not going to be a big worry for me right now. So I'll go ahead and stamp it off a little bit. Just get some of the color off. And come back here. Line it up as best I can. And give it a press. Okay. Oh, that looks really nice. Because for me, this is toned down enough so that I can easily put some other colors in there and look really nice. What I'm going to do before I go anywhere is I am going to clean this stamp off because it is a mess. You know what else too? This stamping mist, I have to tell you this because I don't know, people think I'm crazy, but this stuff smells really good. Okay, I mean, it's not like perfume or anything, but it smells good. It doesn't smell like a cleaner or anything bad. It smells really good. So look how clean that gets that. I love it. And you dry it off and you're ready to go. Super. And I'm going to do this tree too. Clean it, dry it, and it's done. Yay. Now I think I had one more thing over here because, whoops, sorry. I think it's this one. Had another color on it. Okay. Now we are going to come back with this one and open up our Melon Mambo. And this is where we're going to make it look like We have some apples or some other fruit on there. I don't know if it's going to be apples or it's going to be, I don't know, pink grapefruit maybe. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is have this ready because I'm going to do some that are in full strength and some that are stamped off, okay? So let's start and see. Start with some that are darker. And then some that are stamped off. So I'm going to stamp that one and then stamp off. So I'm going to stamp it on there and then stamp it off. So see how the lighter texture is? Stamp it on, stamp it off. Stamp it on, stamp it off. Stamp it on, stamp it off. One more. Stamp it on, stamp it off. Oh, maybe one more. I really like this pink color. It looks so nice. Stamp on, stamp off. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do for my little pink flowers. But I do want some ground cover down here. So for the ground cover, oops, let me reach, sorry. I have a little stamp that looks sort of like grass or some kind of foliage on the ground that nobody else has but this little flower garden. So we're going to use that. It's just really tiny. So what I'm going to do is, because it's grass and the grass is always different colors, different shades, it's not all the same color, is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stamp it here and then I'm going to do a stamp off technique. So I'm going to do different heights too. So I'm not going to put them all on the same level. So I'm going to put some a little higher, some a little lower, some I'm going to stamp off, some I'm going to put full strength. So this one is going to be full strength. The one right next to it's going to be stamped off. So you see how it's a different tone. And I'm going to do one more here, one more that's a stamp off. And I think if you do it that way, you can pretty much do it all the way across your page and it won't look the same, so you'll be happy. So see, it looks different, and that's the whole key. Okay, I'll do one more right here. So because I did those little green foliage plants, I do want to give them some flowers. So I'm going to give them some of the pink flowers. And I'll use the same little stamp we just had to do these apples with. And the same idea, I'm going to do some regular strength and then I'm going to stamp off on some, okay? So there's going to be some that are higher, some that are lower, some that are a little bit lighter in color, some that are darker. And you just really want to make sure you kind of change it up a little bit so it doesn't look too uniform, okay? So you see that looks pretty good. It doesn't look like someone came through and just did one color. So, you know, if you do it like this, you can look like you put a lot of effort in and you maybe didn't put that much effort in. I mean, you and I both know this takes effort, but what I'm saying is you could make it seem like you were putting a whole lot more effort into it than you did. Although I know you put a lot. All right, so now we're gonna do the stamping technique because we want this layer to look like it is a darker color because we want it to kind of match these flowers. So I'm gonna show you something here. Let's see. Here's a little trick. I'm going to put the white stamping card layer on top of the pink layer, the Blushing Bride layer, and I want you to see how much you have to go around. So that means that that's how much you're going to be sponging. So you see, you're not sponging a lot, okay? I just want to make sure you know that it's not going to be a long process because you don't have to do much to it. So I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to get a little scrap paper because I don't want to mess up my table. Then I'm going to get my sponge. I gave you a sponge for this, so you'll have a sponge. And you know what I do? I get the Stampin' Up! Sponges, the round sponges that we get, and I cut them. I do this for my own projects too, because usually there's a couple reasons why. Usually I'm using different colors all the time, and I don't want to waste one sponge on one color. And the other reason is that you don't need a lot of sponge. The last reason is you can get more precision this way, especially in the wedge. So just remember, if you buy these from Stampin' Up! And they come 3 to a package, cut them up into these little pieces. It's going to be better for you. Okay, so I have my melon mambo, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the edge of the sponge. I'm just gonna get some of the color on there. And what I do is I just come at it from the side and I just sponge it in a circular motion. Okay, I get a little more of the color and I keep going around the edges. Just keep going. You can always add more, so you don't want to start out super heavy. But just remember that you control how much you put on. So you could do a lot or you could do a little. And if you start out with a little bit and you want more later, it's no problem. You can just do more. So, you know, don't stress yourself out too much, because this is a technique that, you know, takes a little bit of getting used to do. But once you learn how to do it, you'll use it more and then you'll get better at it. And like I said, it doesn't matter, because if you start out light, you can always come back and put a little bit more on there. There's almost no wrong way of doing this. So you will definitely have a good time with the sponging technique. I know some people that do their whole card background with sponge. I mean, there's a lot you can do with the sponging technique. Okay, I think that's all the color I want. So I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna let it dry just for a minute while I put away my ink here, so I don't want it to dry up. And this isn't the layer I'm gonna pop up. So this is the layer I'm just gonna use the regular snail on. So before I do that, like I said, I'm gonna let it dry for a minute. I want to get the other sentiment stamped on there. So I'm gonna get the two little papers. Here we go. And the sentiment we were thinking of was, again, thinking of you. And what I like to do with that is I grab the sentiment and I'm gonna do it in black, because that's gonna show up really good. Now, I think you might have seen in the card that I showed you initially that I cut these words up, okay? So I'm gonna stamp it a couple times because I don't want them to be too close together. I wanna have a little room. So I'm gonna stamp it a couple times so that I can cut it out however I want. All right, I wanna give it enough room. So let's see, thinking of you, thinking of you. Should I do one more just to make sure I have enough room? Yeah, I'll do it one more time in the middle. Thinking of you. Okay. So let's put this away. And I'm gonna get my little snips out and I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. So this piece, so I let you know that I cut these for you already, and you could cut these yourself also. They're 3/4 of an inch wide, and this one I think is 4 inches this way. So what I did was I'm going to cut the U off, just like that. Try to make sure you get it straight. It's kind of hard, I know, but just try. And then the other thing you want to do is try to make sure that you cut it evenly on the other side, as even as you can, okay? So I'm gonna just cut that there. And then, oh my goodness, I have a fly flying around. Okay, so I have that word, thinking of you. Now I need the of, and the of you have a little bit less leeway on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it here. Thinking, I think thinking, I want this thinking. No, I want this thinking. Okay, I'm gonna use this thinking. Well, I guess I only needed one. See, sometimes you only need one. All right, so let's see how this works out. No, this one looks kind of skinny, huh? But I think it'll still work out just fine. I'm gonna use dimensionals for those. So tell you what, let's put our card together now. So I'm gonna start with my base layer. I'm gonna get my sponge layer, flip it over, and use my snail adhesive, all 4 sides. Okay. And I'm going to get this on here evenly as possible. Great. Now for this layer, I'm going to first go ahead and get this part on here because I want to put my sentiment up in this corner. It's going to be thinking of you. And what I'll do is I'll line everything up with that left border, okay? So you'll see what I mean. So let me show you with the dimensionals. Here they are. All right, so the dimensionals are going to work fine on this bigger piece. I'm going to put a couple of them there. And let me get this one on so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's thinking, and it's up here in this corner. Kind of lined up there. Let me lift this edge up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, there's thinking. Now of is next, and we have little skinny pieces on the dimensionals on the edges, and now we have new dimensionals that are mini dimensionals. So now we are even luckier because we can use those also. But I'm going to go ahead and use one of these because they're so tiny and I don't like to waste things. So, and I have this one out already. So when you use the dimensionals that I sent you, you could do the very same thing, okay? And that way you'll be able to not waste anything too. Okay, so I'm going to take off the backing. And this one is small, so they are kind of hard to handle when they're small, but just, you know, take your time, do your best, you'll be fine. Line that up right along this edge, right about there. Thinking of, and last is going to be you. And I think I can use a regular dimensional for there. There's plenty of room. Yeah. The main key on this is to make sure you give yourself about the same amount of space in between each one and you'll be fine. If you change them up too much, it won't look right, but if you don't, it'll be fine. Now I'm going to use dimensionals to pop this whole thing up on the back, so I'm going to flip it over. Do what I said before, go for each corner first, and then see where you're at, how many more you want. I'm going to go for the sides like I told you last time that I like to do, and I'm going to put a couple more in the center for good measure because I am weird like that. And now I'll just peel off all the backings, get this one put up, and we will see what it looks like. And don't forget, we're still going to decorate our envelopes too, because that is so much fun to do on these cards. Once you start decorating your envelopes, you're never going to stop. It's so much fun. All right, so you see how I have the sponging around the edges like that? And I'm going to cover most of this card again and just let the borders show. So you won't see the center that didn't get sponged. You'll just see the edges and it'll look really cute. Okay. So there, that looks really nice. And then we still have our embellishments. What I'm going to do with these embellishments is a couple things. I'm going to use a couple of them down below. So in these little flowers, I'm going to put, I don't know, 2 or 3. Let's see. Oopsie, flipped over. One there. One there. One here, and then I'll put maybe like 3 of them up here. One there, one there, and one here. All right, and that's our finished card. Isn't that pretty? Thinking of you. Looks so cute. So here's our 2 cards that we just made. Those are those 2. And here's these 2. And then the first 2 are right here. So those are our 6 cards. And you see you have 2 cards in each design. And I just wanted to point out how you can do them. Sorry about that, you guys. My phone inadvertently stopped recording suddenly, right about the time I did that last envelope. I was decorating this one with the bicycle, and I think you just didn't get to see me decorating this one. But all that is the tree, and you just did a partial. So I just want to thank you guys a lot for taking my class. I hope you take the next class. I haven't decided which one it'll be, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing the coffee cafe or the coffee break. It's gorgeous. So thank you again for taking my class, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Okay, bye.